Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Live with Mel. The U.S. Army developed a vaccine to fight against all COVID variants. Now, this is very interesting news that many people did not even know was happening. Now, last night, Defense One came out with an exclusive report stating that the military would soon be announcing that the U.S. Army a single vaccine, one single vaccine that could fight not only against COVID-19, but all variants of past, present, and futures, and the SARS virus as well. Now, with this information coming out, many people are shocked to know that the U.S. Army at Walter Reed was actually doing this. Now, the scientists at Walter Reed have been working for 2 years in order to come up with this vaccine. Now, while other vaccine companies, while other pharmaceutical companies were rushing to come out with a vaccine to the current strain, the U.S. Army, the U.S. military at Walter Reed decided to focus on the long run instead. They wanted to focus on finding and developing a vaccine in which handle all forms of COVID and SARS as well. Now, the U.S. Army first received the DNA sequencing of COVID-19 in early 2020, and they began looking for a way to handle all forms of COVID. Because as we've seen in the past weeks, the past couple of months, and the past couple years, the past 2 years, is that the COVID-19 virus is mutating. And when it does mutate, it looks as though it's becoming more contagious and is causing issues for the entire globe. And not only is it causing issues for people living through the pandemic, for each and every single one of us, it is causing issues with a lot of the vaccines. As we're seeing, as new variants come out, one of the first things that is being reported or being spoken about is whether or not this vaccine will be effective against the new variant. But the U.S. Army decided to play for the long run, and scientists at Walter Reed had decided to focus primarily on finding a vaccine or creating a vaccine that would be able to deal with all and any type of variants that comes into place. Now, phase 1 of human trials has ended. So they completed phase 1, and it did take longer than what scientists thought it was going to take, because people who had not been inoculated or who had not received the vaccine and people who did not have COVID before. People to participate in the study who did not, again, was not vaccinated, who had never, was an issue for the U.S. military and the scientists at Walter Reed. But once they found that, they were able to complete phase 1 of trials. Now, they also did a previous trial on animals as well. And with these 2 trials, they are confident that the vaccine is working, and they're beginning to work on phase 2. With phase 2, what's going to happen is they're going to see how this new vaccine that the U.S. military has created, they're going to see how this vaccine works with people who have already been inoculated or who have already received some type of vaccine. Now, again, many people, no one really knew that the U.S. Army was focusing on this type of vaccine. Now, Defense One had an exclusive insight into what was going on, and they did have an exclusive interview with the scientists who were actually working on creating this new type of vaccine. Now, I'm saying this new type of vaccine because it is quite different from all the other vaccines that we have on the market, and it's even very different from the vaccines that are right now that target COVID that we've seen. But let's go up and pull up these comments first. we're not going to pull up that comment from YouTube, but it's okay. So the U.S. military at Walter Reed. So the U.S. military at Walter Reed is working on a very specific type of vaccine, and it is very different from what we've seen. Now, Dr. Kayvon Jarrard is a doctor that the defense once spoke to, and he said in an exclusive, again, this is an exclusive interview with Defense One, that human trials, which tested the vaccine against Omicron and other variants, wrapped up this month, again, with they're undergoing final review. So at this moment, they're doing the final review. But one question that many people have when they saw this article come out is how is one vaccine able to target all of the COVID variants, all of SARS variants, past, future, and present? They're able to target it is the actual design vaccine. Like I stated before, it is quite different. Now, unlike other existing vaccines, the SPFN, which is what they're calling the vaccine, you have like a soccer ball shape protein, and it has 24 different bases on it. And this allows scientists to attach the spikes of multiple coronavirus strains to the different phases. Now, this new vaccine is resembling protein nanoparticles. Now, other vaccines, the vaccines that we have seen used to fight COVID-19, like Pfizer, like Moderna, really uses the A to trigger an immune response. This is not what the vaccine that the US military has created is using. So again, you have to imagine a soccer ball with 24 faces. So it's a protein with 24 faces, and each face of the ball, so each of the 24 faces would carry a protein, a spike protein, and it would trigger the body to mount a protective immune response. So on this ball, there's different types of COVID-19, different types of spikes, and that is how it would trigger it. So again, it is very new. This is very new technology. This is not something that we're seeing when it comes to vaccine technology. And because of this, because of the 24 different phases, it's able to not go after one strain of COVID, but it's able to go after Omicron, it's able to go after Delta, it's able to go after and cause an immune response for the different types of variants, for the different types of mutations. Now, the doctors, the scientists at Walter Reed, again, they're saying that it took a lot longer to create this because they were focusing on the long run. They knew that the coronavirus would mutate, and they wanted to focus on being able to handle and deal with all the various types of COVID-19 mutations that could come around. Again, many people were not focused in on the military when they said that they were going to deal with the vaccine. Many people turned and started looking towards the pharmaceutical companies. But for the past years, Walter Reed has been very quiet about this, and they have been trying to develop this new vaccine technology, because this is not just new vaccine. This is new vaccine technology altogether. And with this vaccine, again, they're not just trying to target COVID-19. They're trying to target and SARS. And we have to wait and see. And the U.S. Army, the U.S. military, Walter Reed, should be announcing the results once it's been reviewed. Because again, these are initial things, and most of the time, pharmaceutical companies, military, they will not announce the extent of their findings until it's been peer reviewed. But let's go ahead and pull this up, the comments up. So Joanna says, "This is so strange for me. Did not realize the U.S. Army was working on COVID vaccines." And I think a lot of people didn't realize that the U.S. military at Walter Reed was working on a vaccine. Again, this was an exclusive interview done by Defense One. They're the one who dropped the information tonight. They had the interview, the exclusive interview with the doctors, with the scientists at Walter Reed. And we should be hearing in the next couple of weeks the full outline of what's happening at Walter Reed with this vaccine. Again, this is news. Most people did not realize that the US military was working on this, and the US military, the scientists at Walter Reed, the doctor at Walter Reed, they kept it very hush as well, because I don't think they wanted the public to know that they were working as well. Aesthetic Fairy 16 says, talking about a new vaccine, is it more powerful? Is it more helpful? Now, again, we don't know. At this time, we are not entirely sure. We have to wait for Walter Reed, the doctors at Walter Reed, the US military, to release this information. Now, again, if the trials go well, because Walter Reed did trials with animals, did the phase 1 trials on humans, and they're now entering into the trials for phase 2. Now, once phase 2 is completed, they will release the information after it's been reviewed to the general public. And if everything goes according to what the US military thinks it's going to go, this could be more helpful, because, again, other vaccine manufacturers working on dealing with the variants that are coming out. The big difference between the other vaccines and the vaccine that the US military is working is the technology behind it. With Pfizer, with Moderna, they're really working on the mRNA to trigger an immune response. Like I stated before, with this vaccine that the US military has created, what the US Army has created, it's working with one spike to trigger the immune response. They essentially created a protein with 24 faces at a soccer ball that they can attach the different protein spikes to, so they can trigger their immune response, not just for one variant, but variants that are going around. Now, again, this new technology could be more powerful. And see, we have to wait and see until it's complete. And then we also have to wait and see how it reacts to people who have already received other vaccines. Now, again, many people did not expect this to come out. They did not realize Reed was working on a vaccine themselves. Now, again, they have tested this front. They have tested it against Delta, but the test subjects have been people who, number one, have not been inoculated, essentially who have not received any type of vaccine, and then people who also did not have COVID. And this is why the trial took so long. Again, it took long because, one, it's new technology, but number two, they had to find people to fit a certain demographics and control group. Now, for phase 2, they find people who have been inoculated, or who have received the vaccine, or who have had COVID, and they're going to see how the vaccine reacts with people who've already been vaccinated, or already had COVID. So it's going to take a few more weeks before the US military essentially announces what's going on and how this vaccine can come out. Now, the US, they are satisfied with the results of their trial. They'll be with another pharmaceutical company in order to push the vaccine out to people. But again, many people think this is good news because of the Omicron variant. As we know, the Omicron variant is showing itself to be a lot more contagious than all the other variants. In a few days, we've seen spikes across the globe. And if we look in the United States, COVID cases in New York City doubled in 3 days. One of the questions that people have been asking about the current vaccines that we have on the market is, will the vaccines be able to handle and deal with the Omicron variant? And as COVID continues to mutate, will these vaccines that are already on the market be able to handle those mutations? Now, we do know pharmaceutical companies right now, they're heading back to the lab to create vaccines that can deal with Omicron variants and other mutations. But if this vaccine works the way that it's supposed to from the US military, then it may just be the answer we need to deal with the constant mutations that we're seeing from COVID-19. And it could be the answer to us getting past this global pandemic. But we have to wait and see. This information came out last night. Defense One Defense One had the exclusive interview. They had the exclusive news. We're going to have to wait a few more weeks to see how phase 2 happens, how people handle this vaccine who already been vaccinated. Again, this is new technology, and we have to see how people react to it. We have to wait for essentially for the trials to be over. Now, Joanna says, I feel like this new technology is for something else, and COVID is giving them the opportunity to try it on the population. I'm just so tired with this COVID. And again, a lot of people are tired with COVID right now. A lot of people are seeing that COVID fatigue. They're seeing the compassion fatigue. They're seeing the vaccine fatigue. Many people want to move on with their lives. The whole world wants to get back to some sense of normalcy. And it's going to be new technology that essentially is going to help us get rid of this. We have to wait to see if the technology actually works. We have to see if this new vaccine actually works. And the US military is satisfied at this point. But again, having a vaccine that can protect us from past, present, and future variants could be something that's extremely important. But again, this information was just released last night. There's not a lot of information out about it. Defense One had the exclusive interview, and we're going to have to wait a few more weeks before Walter Reed, the US military, releases more information. So again, the US military has been keeping this very hushed. They haven't necessarily come out to the public, and they're finally releasing a little bit of information. But with this being the US military, with this being, again, the US government, we're just going to have to wait and see what actually happens. And I do want to comment on Joanna's comment right here. It is very interesting they have this technology. I feel like this new technology is for something else, and COVID is giving them an opportunity to try it. They probably have been working on something. Again, with this new technology, it won't just protect us against COVID, but SARS in general as well. So this could have been something they've been working on for years to handle SARS or to handle other viruses that are similar to makeup, and COVID just gave them the opportunity to test it out, like Joanna says. But again, we don't have all the information. We only have the information that the US military, that Walter Reed is slowly releasing, that they're slowly letting out. When it's private companies, when it's public companies, we can hear this information. We'll get the information quickly. But again, this is the US government. This is the US military. They're going to let us know exactly what they want to let us know, exactly when they want us to. So in a few weeks, we'll have more information about this. If phase 2 of the trials work, we could see a plan to start releasing this new technology out to the general public. If phase 2 doesn't work, this could slowly go away, and we may not again. But again, I just wanted to keep you guys updated about what's going on COVID-19 with vaccinations and what the US military is doing. Because again, this came to shock people. So guys, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Let me know what your thoughts are about this new vaccine that the US military has been working on. And so my question to people out there as well, something that I do want to know, if phase 2 of the trials are successful, if the US military does with this vaccine for the general public, and it does work on variants, past, present, and future, and as well as SARS, will this be something that you would take? Is this a vaccine? Will this new technology be something that you'd be willing to take in order to try and stop the spread of COVID-19, in order to stop the spread of the Omicron variant? Because again, new vaccines are great, but they're only great if people actually go out and take them. So would you this new vaccine by the US military if the trials are successful? Because again, they're going into phase 2, and if they may be available for the general public. So guys, let me know in the comment section below. My name is Mel. I come live every single Monday through Wednesday events and let you know what's happening across the globe and right here in this great nation as well. I hope everyone has a happy holidays. Have a great weekend. Spend time with family, whether it is virtual or whether it's in person. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear your mask, do what you think is safe in order to stop the spread of COVID. And I will see everyone Monday morning. Again, everyone, happy holidays, and I will see everyone next week. Have a good one. Happy holidays.